Phyllis is now the CEO of Jabot, which is no longer a boys' club, and Nick is still, well, maybe not so much anymore, trying to win back Sharon's love. Stay tuned for this week's Restless Wrap.
You're tuned in to AFTERBUZZ TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everybody, I'm Rachel Goodman here with another week of Restless Wrap. This was, I say this every single time, this was a crazy week. We had a lot of drama with Ashley, who finally left for good. Though I get the feeling, even though the woman who plays Ashley isn't coming back, I get the feeling, the way they've set this up, she might come back eventually, and it sounds like she's left before, so who knows? So we're gonna go ahead and start with that, but before we dive in here, let me just give a shout out to all the people we have in the chat. We have Zoe Johnson, Huppy Joe, Simone Francois, Aaron Brody, Susan Russo, Candace Mack, Matthew Kennedy, Rainy J, and I think I hit everybody. But yeah, I hit everybody. So thank you guys for being part of the chat every week. Like always, you're definitely my co-hosts. I went ahead and I asked at the start of this in the chat what everyone's favorite moment was. We had a lot of responses and we have a lot going on in the chat too, but Candace, that Neil saw Lily finally. Aaron Brody, my favorite moment was when Kyle ripped into Summer. Finally, someone did. Candace, I'm still recovering from the amazing Ashley story. Yeah, me too. Aaron, I love Ashley starting up her own company. Screw Jabot. And then we have a couple of comments here about when Simone, I love Kyle telling Summer off, but this is only going to encourage her to go after him more. Yeah. Susan Russo, Jack, Billy, and Kyle's faces when Phyllis, not Philly, there is no Philly anymore unless we're talking about the city. Phyllis was voted in as CEO. Candace Mack, if Eileen, Peter, and Beth don't submit their scenes for Emmys, shaking my head. Okay, so let's go ahead. Oh, we have one more. Simone says Mariah and Tessa getting couples tattoos is a not a good thing. Ask Ariana and Pete. You know, it's funny too because we'll just mention the tattoos real fast. At first I was wondering. I mean, they look like they were legitimately tattoos, like actually like permanent. First, I was wondering if they were just stickers because they had been talking about stickers. At least that's the memo I got. Apparently not. They were real tattoos. Okay, so, and Troy Gesh says, the goodbye of Jack and Ashley, my favorite. Doolaman, Beth deserves an Emmy. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in here, and we'll touch in with the chat as we go along. So, of course, let's start off with Jabot, and let's start off with Ashley. We got her final episode. We were all waiting for this. There was a lot of build up to this moment, a lot of unexpected turns. At the start of this week, we had Ashley deciding whether she was going to accept the offer they gave her. Now that we know that the patent, the protection from Dina and John Abbott was there to protect Ashley so that she's going to have the patents, all the patents that she did from Jabot are hers to go and leave with. So at the start of this week, that's kind of where we left off. Ashley rejects the offer. She is like, you know what? Nope, I'm not dealing with this. I'm out. Goodbye. See you later. I'm going to start up my own company. And I honestly don't blame her either. I know when we were talking about this a couple weeks ago, I was saying that, you know, I kind of felt bad for Jack because Ashley lying about the DNA and switching things was sort of unfair. But at the same time, I get where Ashley is coming from, even though she made the wrong choices with that. I get where she's coming from, especially with how they spent a lot of this week and last week with the flashbacks, showing us how Ashley was treated and showing us that pretty much while she was always trying to get Dina's love, Jack was always trying to get John's love. So it all makes sense. Yeah, so I have to say props to the flashbacks. They added a lot of layer and dimension to the way that I viewed this relationship between Jack and Ashley. For everyone who's listening in on the chat, what do you think? Do you think that Ashley should have done what she did? Should she have left and gone to Paris, which is where she's going to open up this new company with, you know, all of the Jabot products that are hers legally because of this protection clause? Matthew Kennedy says Ashley leaving storyline was a letdown. She should have had a better goodbye. That I agree with. Now, I do feel like for the last couple of weeks they were setting it up after it came out with Ashley switching and tampering the DNA. The way that Ashley was walking around Genoa City, the way they had her sitting in Crimson Lights, they were kind of setting it up like, okay, this is, we knew Eileen Davidson was leaving. They're kind of just setting it up so that we knew that not just the character, but the actress was saying goodbye. For now, anyway. You never know. She could come back. But we get back to Ashley rejecting the offer, and she goes, by rejecting your offer, I'm leaving with everything. I'm starting my own cosmetics company. Jabot will never have the rights to manufacture them again. She's going to call it My Beauty after her dad. So we kind of have Jack and Ashley going back and forth. They're all, Kyle, Billy, Jack, for their own different reasons, they were all trying to convince her to reconsider because what they were offering her was a pretty good deal. But she, just for her own dignity, Ashley couldn't accept. She had to turn them down and do what was best for her. So then Abby steps in and she tries to say, well, what if we just let Ashley be CEO? And she tries to basically stand up for her mom, but Ashley says, no, it's too late. I don't care. Even if at this point they did reinstate me as CEO, it wouldn't matter. I'm leaving anyway, because her fear is that if Jabot, if Jack, Billy, if they were going to reinstate her, they would only do it so that they could have the patents, and then they would find another way to get rid of her. So I feel like Ashley made a really good point, and seeing all of this, seeing the way that she was treated, that she never really got to do, seeing this kind of rivalry between her and Jack, now it all kind of makes more sense why it would have all come to this and why she would have been so insulted by the Blood Abbott clause, and by that being the thing that Jack did throw in her face. Doolaman, I wish they would bring Mammy back. She was more of a mother to them. They all loved her. Rainy J, I am Team Jack. Troy Gesh, I was hoping she'd have some of the leave some of the patrons with Jabot. Matthew Kennedy, plus she said in an interview she's never coming back. Okay, well then I guess that's it. But at least they didn't kill her off. That's the thing. Like we know with Hillary's character, there's no way unless they come up with some, supernatural weird storyline, we are not going to see Hillary again. With Ashley, she's still alive. She's going to be in Paris. You never know. Even if she says now she won't come back, the character still is alive. So there's always that hope, the way that some people are still hoping for Adam to come back, even though he is technically supposed to be dead. Simone, I agree with Ashley leaving. She's put her family first a lot in her life. She needed to do this to prove she could. Candace Mack, I think her goodbye was good. This was the payoff for the fans who remember every time Jack threw it in her face she wasn't an Abbott. So, in that sense, yeah, and I feel like her having the patents, she leaves her pretty much in control, and this move that Ashley made, I definitely think was the best move she could have made. And let's be honest here, Jabot's going to be fine. They'll figure it out, especially now, and we'll get to what now means in a second, but just kind of going along with that. We have a lot of little things happening here. As Ashley's sort of saying goodbye, she openly says, Jack, I have nothing to say to you. She tells Billy that she hopes someday they can salvage their relationship, but Billy's kind of like, nope, this move you're doing is pretty much killing it for good. But, Ashley tried. She asks Abby to go with her, but obviously Abby can't, for now anyway, but the invitation was there. So now we get Ashley, we have her basically just saying she's going to leave. We had a touching moment between her and Jack, where Jack, before Ashley is going to get on the plane and go, Jack goes into the club, finds her, and basically says, hey, I'm sorry for everything. And that's what finally fixes their relationship, is the fact that not only does Jack say sorry, but he admits that he thinks that he's I don't think he used the word threatened, but he basically felt like he was worried because he knew deep down in his heart that Ashley could be a better CEO than him. And finally, those were the words she needed to say. it didn't make her change her mind. She still was going to go, but at least she gave Jack a hug goodbye, and they ended on positive terms instead of the more negative terms where it looked like they were going to end. And that's, to me, that was the best part of the goodbye. If that hadn't happened, I would have felt like you can't just leave. You can't just have this character leave without having something said between her and Jack, at least a little bit. So it felt right, felt like the best thing to do. We end with Ashley on a plane, toasting to Genoa City. It's not in my law moment, but it made me laugh. So I'm just saying that right now. I know what they were trying to do with Ashley, toasting to the city that she was leaving, but it just came off a little odd to me that someone would sit in a plane and toast to a city. It just kind of was a little odd and then over dramatic. We were seeing her face through the window port. Yeah, but it's not on my law moment. I have other things to talk about there. So, obviously you guys are all fans of Y&R. I just wanted to let you know too that as AfterBuzzers, we also have other networks and other shows. We have drama, reality TV, sci-fi, and more. There's no network that works harder to serve television fans, but we need your help. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. By subscribing, YouTube will suggest other content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about those notifications, don't worry, because you can turn them off so you can subscribe without dealing with all of that. So go ahead right now, hit that subscribe button for this channel, and you can also check out other AfterBuzz channels as well. Let us know that you did in the comments, and I will give you a shout out live on the air. So thanks for now for being the best fans and for helping us be the ESPN of TV talk. Speaking of talking, it's that time when I say anyone who's listening live, if you would like to call in, then we can definitely take some calls. The number to call in live, if you are listening live, that is November 4th at 5:30, about 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. The number to call is 424-254-8302. Again, if you were listening live on November 4th. The number is 424-354-8302. We are taking calls right now. Okay, so we touched on Ashley. Let me just see if there's any other comments in the chat because it was such a big deal with her leaving. Candace, I think it was Eileen toasting to the show and fans for being there with her and Ashley's journey. That I definitely get why she was doing it. I think it was as the character. She was toasting to the city that not only built her, but in the end, everything worked out for her because she has the patents. She has a very promising future right now. So I feel like it made sense. It just, the way that they did it was, to me, it felt awkward. Like, okay, this is like, what are you doing? But yeah, I get that for the actress anyway, toasting to the show, toasting to the fans, that was a nice ending touch. It just felt weird to me. Okay. Rainy J, Twitter clips of interviews had me thinking Brandon was leaving. Hashtag thank God he isn't. Okay, so on that note, let's just talk about the rest of what happened at Jabot. After Ashley leaves, it ends up with, now of course they have to find another CEO. Everyone who's listening in the chat, if you're listening and you're not listening live and you want to leave a comment, I can definitely address that next week. But for anyone who is listening, who did you think was going to end up as CEO? Because we had Billy and Jack in the ring, which was kind of to be expected. The one that I only knew because seeing the reviews, I saw Phyllis's name pop up a couple times. But I didn't, as soon as she put her name in, it was kind of a shock to me. And we have a caller on the line. This is Rachel, who's on the line.
It's me, Candace Mack. How you doing?
Hey, Candace, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So I was just touching on everything happening with the CEO situation at Jabot. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. So what did you think of Phyllis becoming the CEO?
And I like it. I mean,
Yeah.
here's the thing: the blood clause is out, so
Yeah.
anybody can be CEO now. And like Phyllis says, it's time for a change. And no offense, Jack and Billy cannot run that company, obviously, because Jack has emotional issues that he has to deal with. Plus, isn't he still working at Dark Horse?
Yeah, he
So isn't
definitely.
that yeah, so
Yeah.
that's kind of conflict. Billy, nobody really trusts Billy because, well, he stole from the company for gambling.
Billy shouldn't have even been
So-
in there. Yeah.
Yeah, he should still be in rehab. Like,
Yeah.
come on now. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, he should be. So Phyllis is, she's a person who has seen how the business is run, and she has a fresh and strong opinion about it. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting, but I don't think she's going to last long.
Yeah. I want her to last long, but I'm just glad it's no longer a boys' club. I'm glad that we have Phyllis
Yeah.
as CEO, Lauren as COO, and then Carrie as the head chemist. That, to me, I was like, okay, this is a really amazing team. It's very fresh. On top of that, when I was
Yeah.
watching their first meeting, I was like, oh, they're already doing much more and much better, and they're agreeing with each other, unlike the other gentlemen who are no longer in charge. So, yeah, to me, I'm
It was
like,
the ego.
yeah,
That's what it was with the guys. It was egos. And, I mean, even when Ashley was CEO and, Tracy, it was a sort of pressure on them because they had to live up to, like you said, the boys' club.
yeah.
And now you have Phyllis who just don't give a, and Lauren who just don't give a either. And then you have somebody new who. So yeah, I like where they're going at with it. It's just I have a feeling that Phyllis isn't going to, because I guess because of what's going to be coming up soon. I have a feeling that that's going to take away from Phyllis, like her credibility
Yeah.
at Jabot
I agree.
because of the whole JT stuff.
Which the whole JT thing, that's a whole other can of worms that they just need to finish that storyline already. It's going on too long.
It's sad because it was, and I think everybody, we was talking about this in the chat room too, is that with the JT storyline, it started out as a strong story about domestic violence. And even though fans were split about the storyline, it still had a powerful message.
Yeah.
You go from that to the four ladies dressing up like Hamburglar from McDonald's,
I was
digging
like,
up a body.
yeah.
It's a joke now. It's now a joke.
And
it's sad.
And it took away from the message, which was how it was so realistic what they did with the domestic abuse, and then they could have just continued it, like taking care of JT in a different way that wasn't killing him or what, and then showed us Victoria's internal trauma and PTSD. There's so much they could have done with her as a character, but instead it's more focus on, oh, we need to hide. It's like they're paranoia instead, and I agree with you. It did not work once they went that direction.
I mean, they had even Nick dress up. I mean, in the hindsight of things, I mean, it created, Nick having his dark persona, even though he dressed up as JT.
Yeah.
So that made a lot of people think if JT is still alive.
Yeah, exactly. And now we kind of think he might be alive again. So, yeah.
I'm like over it. I'm like to the point, I'm just tapped out. I know that Mac and Reed are coming back, but this story has gone on too long. And
yeah,
I was looking forward to it when it first happened, when, everything and, the traumatic stress and Nick, but now it's to the point where I'm just shaking my head. I'm like, okay, can we hurry this up?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm done.
I agree with you. Well, thank you so much for calling in.
Not a problem. You have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Have a good night. Okay, so let's touch on a little bit more with Phyllis, and then we can jump to the JT and touch a little more deeply on that. So to check in with the chat really fast, Rainy J, shaking my head at Nick and Phyllis next week. Oh. Troy Gesh, it's funny hearing how long the stories are now. Back in the day, the stories lasted forever, much longer than what they last today. Different time. That's good to know too. So, okay, we have everything going on with Phyllis. We had a lot of tension between Phyllis and Billy, of course. A lot of tension that actually worked really well. We had Summer in there. We had, during one of the first meetings before, this actually, I think, before Phyllis became CEO, when they were deciding on CEO, Summer came in and basically Phyllis was like, well, this is an executive affair. She's staying. And so that is one thing I do want to mention. I love that after what happened with Billy, Summer and Phyllis they seem to have kind of, because of this bond over what Billy did to them both, they seem to have fixed a lot of their relationship, and they seem to at least be on better terms than they were before. Okay, so let's just go to the place after Phyllis was voted in as CEO. I have written in my notes in capital blue letters, day one in the office, and Phyllis, Lauren, and Carrie are doing a better job than anyone else I've ever seen on the show. So that about sums up my opinion of Phyllis becoming CEO. Phyllis becoming CEO, getting Lauren and having Carrie. I am very excited for this team. I am glad that we do not, no offense to the males that were in position, but I am glad to see a female team at the head of Japo, and I really hope that it doesn't, because of the JT storyline, I hope that it doesn't get, that's why Phyllis can't be CEO anymore. That would make me irritated. So, we'll have to see what happens with Phyllis. Let's move on and touch a little bit more on JT, and then we'll get into some of the other storylines happening this week. Okay, so we picked up with the JT storyline, Nikki mentioning, we've sent the mail to the blackmailer. They haven't heard anything, but they're still getting paranoid because Nikki ends up getting a call that they need to work on the water pipes, I think it was, or something with the water pipe structure needed to be fixed. Right around where they bury JT, naturally, because why would it happen anywhere else? Of course, it will be right there. So they all go, like Candace mentioned, they go with these, really, not Ronald McDonald, the other guy, the other character she mentioned, those, Halloween black masks, and they start digging up the grave, or, their grave that they, manually dug up themselves. First of all, why would they wear that? That was, to me, one of the funniest parts of the whole week, because are they expecting that a mask is going to hide their identity? It was still very obvious who they all were, and that Genoa City is not that big, so anyone who happened to walk by would have seen. They already had Jill show up earlier in the day, so if I had been them, especially Nikki, because Nikki was there when Jill showed up, if I had been Nikki, I would have been a little concerned that Jill would just pop back in, worried that, something else was going to happen. So they're trying to basically dig up the body and hide it somewhere else, and that's when they all find out that Phyllis has become CEO, and Nikki's like, God help Jabot, and it was a very funny moment. I just didn't really understand the masks. That threw me off. Like, what? You really think that's gonna help you hide? No, because it's not at all. Just lose them. So of course, there was no body when they dug it up, and so now that leaves us wondering. All right, well, to me, it's not even possible that JT could still be alive. If they somehow go in that direction, I would be very shocked. What I think is more likely is that maybe someone like Ray, for example, somehow knew where the body had been buried. I know that we saw previews for next week showing that Ray they find a watch of, obviously it belonged to JT, and Ray goes and then they cover it up, they mark it off like a crime scene. But I'm just thinking maybe Ray is the one who knew the body was buried there in the first place, and he dug the body up, and he's the one that's been blackmailing them, so maybe. Or JT is somehow alive, and he's been the one blackmailing them, which would make sense, and would also be the easiest thing if that were the case, because then they're not going to obviously go to jail for murder because the guy's alive. We have a couple of comments here. Candace Mack, I want to point out that the most real storyline currently on Daytime is Lily being transferred to another jail due to her safety. Yeah, let's definitely touch on that next. But that's a very difficult situation going on with Lily right now. Troy, Nikki, and Jill scenes, LOL. Matthew Kennedy, I think Victor is behind the notes. That it's up his shady boots. That could definitely be. I mean, but then again, it's like, okay, well, unless he's trying to teach them a lesson for not telling him what was going on, and he somehow knows, that's definitely an option. Susan Russo, Shady Ray, Rainy J, he dug himself up like Carrie's hand. Yeah. I mean, if he was somehow this is why, and they even mentioned this in the show, that they buried him under, I don't know how many, how deep it was that they got him in there, but it isn't even like when they show this, like I'm thinking of Kill Bill, for example, when they bury her, the woman in Kill Bill, they have her in an actual coffin, and the only reason why she doesn't suffocate is because she has just enough air and somehow punches her way out of it and gets out of, the coffin and the dirt and is good. But JT was unconscious, and then if he did wake up or if he was up the whole time, they were, I don't think they left right away. It took him a while to bury him, so I don't know, it just doesn't sound realistic that he would live through that, but you never know how they try to explain it. Candace Mack, I don't think it's Victor because of Nikki and Victoria. I mean, Victor has done stuff before, but I don't think he would do this. Susan Russo, Ray gives me the creeps too. Yeah, so let's, I know someone mentioned Lily earlier. Let's touch on her real quickly. There isn't that much, just other than to say that basically everything with Lily has, she was sticking up for an inmate. She got attacked. There was this whole situation where they had to hide her and keep her in confinement, which they didn't, obviously Lily didn't want that. No one wanted that. So they ended up transferring her 4 hours away to another prison. And Devon was trying to, get a senator's help. He tried going to Sharon. He tried making all kinds of calls. He tried, when he went to Sharon, he asked her about a halfway house. Sharon said no, it's usually for substance abuse people. And then they couldn't do house arrest. He was just trying to get her to be a little bit closer. The actress who plays Lily, she announced a couple weeks ago now that she is going to recurring status. So I'm wondering if that's why they're going to have her be 4 hours away. Though you would think that they would want her to have a little more involvement outside of the prison. We'll see what happens with that, though. And that's basically where we left off with her and Kane and everyone trying to get her out of that situation. But right now, it looks like she's kind of stuck. Okay, so let's touch on... we've got a whole thing going on with Kyle, Lola, and Summer. And some people mentioned it earlier. Kyle finally told Summer off. So I just want to say, too, that Lola is probably one of the strongest characters on Y&R right now, at least to me, because she does not take, crap from anyone. Even, everything that, not that Kyle did anything that bad to her, but the fact that he would, not set boundaries with Summer and allow her to come in and talk to her and send Lola away when they were on a date. Lola was like, I'm not dealing with that. And just the way that she, told Kyle, listen, we're going to do this one way. You're either going to, cut your boundaries and we'll maybe talk if I'm available, or we're just never going to talk again. So you choose. And just the way that she said that was pretty amazing. So I love how they write the Lola character. That is just great. Kyle, of course, I really wasn't sure what they were going to do with him. I mean, a couple people in the chat said that it was... They still think that Kyle and Summer are going to end up sleeping together, and I think I agree. But as far as what we saw, Kyle told Summer that he only thought he wanted her and that he couldn't get her off his mind until he realized that his feelings for her were just for the idea of her, for a person that didn't even really exist. And that meeting Lola made him realize what was real, and that Lola was the only real thing, real person to him. Of course, I don't think he realized this, but Lola was off to the side in the club and heard all of this. And from there on out, she was like, okay, Lola decided she was going to be with Kyle. But Ray actually came up with a really good point when he was talking to Lola. He said that people, when they are saying one thing, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. It could just be what they're saying in the moment. And I still think Kyle has feelings for Summer. I think that she is the person that he's going to want to be with long term. But maybe he's just so hurt by everything that happened with her that he doesn't want anything to do with her, which makes sense to me. But yeah, I think that's what's going to end up happening. Hubby Joe says, #Kylo. So since we're kind of talking on Ray a little bit, let's jump into everything happening with Ray, Sharon, and Nick, and then we'll get to our law moment. So, all right. We still had everything. So at the beginning of the week, Ray and Sharon, so obviously Nick had said something to Ray to try and get him to back off, I guess. So at the beginning of this week, Sharon and Ray were acting, especially Sharon, toward Ray. Sharon was being very awkward and very uncomfortable and just trying to back away from Ray and not really talk to him. Ray lifted something up for her and she was like, no, I got this. And so it was just, Sharon was just being very standoffish and just, I can do this on my own. Didn't even want to get in the same car with him to drive to work from Crimson Lights. So then eventually they kind of sort of talk about this. It doesn't really, it sort of fixes things, but it still leaves them in a very awkward place because now obviously we're kind of seeing a Sharon Ray connection, but then there's also the JT storyline, and that we don't know if Ray is just doing it still because he's trying to find out more and get into her head and find out what her involvement is with this. I'm not sure that I see a Sharon and Ray situation happening, but what we did see is that Nick kept trying to get back with Sharon. He wanted her to go to the pumpkin patch with him. He wanted to, dress up as a family with Sharon. And I love how Sharon was like, yeah, well, she wouldn't do it. Nick said, well, you're going to disappoint the kids if you don't go trick-or-treating with us, if you don't wear the costume. And Sharon was like, well, the bigger disappointment is if they think we're getting back together when we aren't. So, she pretty much made it clear she was done with Nick. I mean, she did before, but I think it really sunk into Nick's head, and that now he's going to finally back off. Let's see if we have any comments in the chat. Susan Russo, so glad Kyle said those things to Summer. It made me like Kyle more, but I doubt he will stay away from Summer. Troy, of course, there are many times they have no idea what to do with a character, like Nikki's son. Simone, I hope Kyle is telling the truth and really wants to move on. Aaron, someone kill Summer. Candace Mack, Ray's ex-wife is coming to town. Oh, okay, we're gonna see her soon. I think they're still married though. At least that's what they say. Candace, see what they should have done was have the married guy that Summer slept with be Ray, and then they come to town. Oh, that would be good. I still think Summer, I'm not sure whether to like her or not like her at this point. I really didn't like her at first. After the whole Billy thing, now I feel bad. So I'm curious to see what happens. If they do anything with that storyline. They keep mentioning the married guy that Summer was with, but yeah, that would have been better if Ray had been that married guy. Okay, let's go ahead and get to our law moment. Okay, so the first one was during the Halloween episode. We had Arturo dressed up as Danny from Grease, and then Lola sees him and says, "Is that my brother dressing up?" that to me was hilarious. The fact that he obviously didn't want to be dressed up and he felt weird about it. And then Lola calls him out on it. Then I have the scene with Victoria, Nikki, and Phyllis wearing masks and digging up the grave. I laughed out loud. I was like, what is this? I feel like I'm about to get a Happy Meal. That was literally what I was thinking. And then this was more like a clapping moment, but I kind of laughed too. Phyllis giving Billy a box. This is when she was clearing out the office at Jabot, giving Billy a box, telling him to take it to the house because she's trying to cut down on the cost of messengers. And then the three women asking Billy to shut the door on the way out. And I wrote, yes, Jabot is no longer a boys' club. So on that note, thank you all for joining for this week's Restless Wrap. My name is Rachel Goodman. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at Rach Goodman. We also have our Restless Wrap Facebook group or Facebook page, at Restless Wrap. So go over there. You can like and follow. I always post the link to the show so you don't have to search for it. But in any case, see you all next week.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.